In this session, we aim to explain the price and non-price competition strategies used by MC firms. We should understand at the end of the section that MC firms rely mainly on non-price competition strategies rather than price strategy in order to differentiate their products and earn higher total revenue and profits. In terms of price competition, MC firms are constrained in terms of the extent of price competition that they're able to engage in. This is because of a vital characteristic of the monopolistic competitive industry, which is relatively low barriers to entry. What is the implication of low barriers to entry? Well, this means that MC firms can only make normal profits in the long run, and hence, MC firms lack the funding or ability to engage in aggressive price competition. Therefore, MC firms can only engage in some form of price competition, which does not involve aggressive undercutting of each other, because that will lead to price war and huge losses of revenue on the side of all firms. Among those tactics that they can use, the popular ones include psychological pricing, which is not saying that they purposely reduce the price in order to attract customers, but rather pricing their items in a strategic way so that it appears a lot cheaper to customers than it actually is. For example, by charging $1.95 rather than $2. They can also use discount pricing in order to increase their quantity demanded. Discount pricing is less aggressive in nature. It's more about giving customers a sense of value for money, and hence they will do the purchase rather than trying to undercut rivals and hence snatch away their market share. Just take note that some MC firms are actually able to also conduct price discrimination due to their ability to enjoy some market power given their location. For example, some bubble tea shops may be the only bubble tea shop in a certain neighborhood area, and because of that, essentially they act like a monopoly in that specific neighborhood, and therefore they're able to charge different prices for the same cup of bubble tea, which is an act of price discrimination. As we said, price competition is limited in terms of effectiveness for MC firms, because recall that in a monopolistic competitive market, there are many sellers selling differentiated goods. So competitors may match the price reduction, hence causing only negligible increase in the total revenue of the firm that initiate this price reduction. Firms can also not indefinitely cut price because they are constrained by the fact that they only have normal profit and do not have extensive supernormal profit to cover this loss in revenue. Therefore, MC firms tend to rely on non-price competition in which they differentiate their goods or service such that the customers are willing to pay a little bit higher price for the differentiated product. However, even for non-price competition, MC firms cannot engage in extensive product differentiation or non-price competition strategies because of the normal profit. Okay, recall that product differentiation helps to make the firm's demand less price elastic and hence increase total revenue and profits. For MC firms though, the product differentiation can be, or most likely are, very superficial. Again, this is because of the low barriers to entry to the particular MC market, which results in them earning normal profit, and hence they lack the funding and ability to engage in extensive non-price competition. So always be very aware of how a certain behavior that you observe among firms or decisions that firms are making can be attributed to a certain characteristic of this market. So this is essentially what we're trying to understand in this topic of firms and decision or market structure. Right, we're trying to understand how a given characteristic can lead to a certain behavior that we observe among firms in a certain market. Okay, so what are the various types of non-price competition strategies that MC firm can engage in? There are two broad categories. One is product differentiation, the other one is advertising. Let's focus on product differentiation. Recall that differentiated products is the vital feature that give each MC firm some ability to set prices. Right? Earlier, we established that the MC firm faces a downward sloping demand curve, and hence they have the ability to set prices because of the fact that each of them sells slightly differentiated product, so that the firm can increase the price while still not losing all customers, like in the case of PC market, right? They're able to retain some customers because these customers are willing to pay higher price for a differentiated product. And because of this, MC firm understand that they need to keep their products differentiated. They're very highly motivated to keep their products differentiated so that they can increase the price and yet retain some customers, and through that they can increase the total revenue. So how would firms engage in product differentiation? Well, MC firms can actually create real differences, like how we actually understand product differentiation. It can create real or perceived difference, right? How do they create real differences? They can use slightly different factor input into the making of their products, or they can slightly change the techniques or workmanship, right? So for example, in bubble tea industry, you notice how some of the shops actually boast a huge variety of ingredients or fillings to add and top up to your bubble tea by adding like konjac jelly or coconut jelly or different kinds of fillings. On the other hand, if you go to your hawker center, neighborhood hawker center, you'll notice that some of the stalls, they also boast special roasting technique for their meat or secret ingredient. Okay, so all these are considered part of the MC firm's effort in trying to create real differences, even though they are quite small and superficial, but still it still helps them to differentiate their goods or service. On the other hand, they can also create perceived difference, which does not really change the item or the good itself, but rather in terms of slightly differentiating their service, right? Maybe by offering a better customer service to the consumers, or offering better after sale, or by changing their operating hours. Another type of non-price competition is advertising. We know that advertising mainly focus on informing the customers about a certain good, or highlighting some of the differences or perceived differences in terms of the good itself, so that you make the demand less price elastic. Okay, but for MC firms, due to the amount of competitors or the number of substitutes that exist for the firm in this industry, the MC firm focus on using persuasive advertising to convince the consumers to purchase their good over others. Okay, and doing so can actually help to increase their demand and makes the demand less price elastic. Again, we need to understand that they are also constrained by the funding due to normal profits in this industry, and hence MC firms cannot engage in extensive advertising, but can only choose to rely on cheaper forms of advertising, such as using flyers or relying on customer reviews and word of mouth.